I have made this point in the past, but it does bear repeating in that men tend to live in the world as it is, and life deals with them as they really are. And women tend to live in the world in a cloud of aspirations and possibilities, which causes delusionment. So, in the case of men, so I'm 5'7". I've never felt 6'5". Maybe when I was amongst my friends and feeling myself, you know what I mean. But life deals with me at that level. I don't get to accentuate my height, my skin, or anything else. I get to turn up exactly as I am. If I was losing hair, that's how I get to turn up, you know. And most men learn to measure themselves in light of where they fit in life. Like if somebody says, "Oh, I want to be a plumber," they start to work on that craft. They do whatever is necessary, and they build themselves based on that. The results of monies come later with the natural progression of things. Same thing with electricians and those who are gifted in music or football and so forth. Now, women can't get to believe that even if a young girl who's 18, 19, she could be like, you know what, I'm gonna date an athlete. Now, if that was equivalent of a man aspiring, it's like a man aspiring for an actress. You know, it's like a man who's the average aspiring for that, but women can aspire for that, and because certain numbers of women have been successful, or they got successfully pregnant, or athletes, they teach each other that this is the way to go. So therefore, a group of women tend to live in this disillusionment. Now, the unfortunate thing is that they live in that delusional land, if you want to call it, and they live in that. And then because of men that seem to have what they feel is a representation of the athlete or the artist. It could be just some players, some drug dealers, some type of scammers, businessmen. So they'll gravitate towards that. So those small number of guys who seem to give this high lifestyle will get a lot of play, and they'll get a lot of play because they represent the fantasy, and women would rather go for that because it represents excitement. It's a high, it's an absolute high because in that state she's beautiful, she's far too good to settle for basic and average because that's got too much monotony. So she gonna go for that which she believes she can aspire for. And anybody's gonna give her that should go for that. It's only when they discover that that's fake, because some of the guys who are even athletes, they go broke, or some of the guys who are drug dealers, scammers, they get jailed up, or it's discovered that they were just faking it. It was just a fake life. Then the women turn to seek out the cleanup men, the guys who worked and dealt with reality as it dealt with them. Now I'm a plumber. I've been doing it for 15 years. Now money is coming. Now I'm stabilized. I bought a home. I didn't run crazy. I just followed the path of life. And that's the point I was trying to make. Men deal with reality as it is. You measure yourself up, you see where you fit in, you slot yourself in, and you move forward. Women can fantasize and believe in the fantasy, but in their fantasy, they tend to waste their youth because the other bad thing that they do is they discard the good men by speaking down on them because they are living in this fantasy. It feels so fantastic that they cannot imagine ever participating in the world which the other guys live in. The 5'7" guy, the 5'4" guy, they couldn't imagine because they're dealing with the 6 foot, you know, 4 guy with tattoos and dreadlocks. Not know, but then they're all dealing with that guy, and they're all being traumatized and building up trauma, trauma bonds and so forth. So men dealing with life as it is a healthier pattern. And if a woman was to attach herself to a man who's developing a healthier pattern, she'll be less traumatic. She'll be less traumatized, I should say, because that man is not going to run her through what these guys are running the women through. Because why? Because those guys have excess. If a whole lot of women are dealing with a small number of guys, those guys have way more than an abundance. So they have no desire to settle. So the men that dealing with the majority of men are dealing with life as it really is, and a lot of women. So, but then the unfortunate part is the crossover part, where there's a switch, is when the men who were doing things properly were still obsessing over the women and felt like they didn't have a chance. And then she turns around when she's so broken and so forth, and they're delusional to believe that that which was bad for them, or that which rejected them, that which discarded them to begin with, can actually accept them and be a part of their life. And then they take that up. And we saw that in the story of Sierra, and Russell Wilson. The Sierra story, we know that. So that's not talked about much these days, but it's the truth. Unfortunately, in our community, there's too many guys who are willing to take anything. And that's the part when men stand on business and say, hey, it's okay. You go your own way. But because men still innately harbor the majority of the ones who did things properly, they harbor a little desire and lust. And some of them, they didn't get the type of love from their home. So they feel like this woman has turned around and finally seen the light, not knowing they're just a cleanup man and still being used. And in most cases, those women are still lusting after the life that they used to have. And you adjust the backup plan. Meanwhile, you did all these things to get your life together. So don't be that guy.